our first forum, Women in Tech. Please help me welcome our distinguished guests. First up, we have the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Angkas, Miss Angeline Tam, ladies and gentlemen, who also received an award today. Congratulations. Have a seat, yes. Also with us is Vice President for Marketing over at Kumu. She's also the co-founder of She Talks Asia, Miss Victoria Herrera. Palakpakan naman tayo dyan, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us next, the head of Globe Business MSME Group, Miss Stella Christine Dizon. Chief Marketing Officer of Grow Sari, Miss Maymay Punzalan. And last but not least, we have with us the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Kindred Health Incorporated, Miss Jessica De Mesa. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. It's so nice to have all of you on stage. My goodness, this is a powerful group of women. And I'm going to be honest. Okay, I have to say I'm not very entrepreneurial. You know, I'm not exactly the most tech-savvy person. So of everyone here, I'm really here to learn and listen to your stories and draw inspiration from the journey that you have been on in your respective platforms and companies. So I think I think we're all familiar with your companies and platforms, but just for the record, maybe we can start by each of you introducing your company and what do you do? Maybe we can start with you, Angie.
Hi, thank you so much, Sam. So Angkas is a motorcycle taxi service where we do point-to-point. You can book from your home, from your office, and it brings you from one place to another in fast and reliable way. We have over 30,000 bikers and over 7 million downloads. And I think the company is really committed to safety and professionalism for everyone out there. Thanks.
Fantastic. Vicky?
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
So just like you, I was also not tech savvy
Really?
before I joined this
find that
company.
hard to believe. Talaga?
I was not in this industry before I started.
Wow.
But I joined the team early on. So Kumu is a live stream platform here in the Philippines, built by Filipinos for Filipinos. In the span of 5 years, we were able to reach over 55 countries because, Filipinos are global. And we were able to get over 15 million downloads. It's been such an adventure learning and absorbing the amazing knowledge from being in a startup, and I'm happy to just share whatever I learned in this little adventure.
Yeah, and you also have your advocacy, which is She Talks Asia, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I also have my advocacy. It's called She Talks Asia, and what we do is we bring women together on stage similar to this, and we really talk about real-life issues. So we've covered everything from body image, loving your body, mental health, self-love, self-worth, all of those topics that we feel women do talk about, but we want to bring it to a global stage so that we can share our lessons and our wisdom to each other.
I feel like parang it's like they work
Sisterhood.
together. Yeah, it's like a sisterhood
It
between
is.
your platforms. Yeah.
Everyone, I'm going to invite you.
Oh. Okay, we'll discuss later. Okay. Miss Stella, of course, the Globe MSME Group, right? Tell us
Yes.
about, what you do.
Well, so hi, Sam. Thank
Hi.
you. And good afternoon to everyone in the audience. So my nickname is KD.
Can we call you KD?
He's called me KD.
Okay,
My
KD.
mom calls me Stella when she's angry. So my name is KD Dizon. So I take care of the MSME Group in Globe Business. So, and I'm actually super honored to be here with these ladies. You guys are such inspirational ladies. And I am also not very entrepreneurial. So because, I'm in a corporation that's Globe, and I think, Globe is something I guess a lot of people would be familiar with. Maybe not Globe Business for MSMEs, because this is really the arm of Globe that is here to empower the MSMEs or the Filipino entrepreneurs. We've made it our mission to really bring digital transformation to them so it helps them not just survive but to thrive as well. And that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, but I think that's actually one of the most inspiring jobs within Globe because we take care of the backbone of our industry and so many inspiring stories from Filipino MSMEs. And I'm excited to hear everyone's story here today.
Yeah, and I think all of our entrepreneurs here are so excited to have something like Globe, business with the MSME group. You have become such a strong partner for our MSMEs and all the services that Globe provides. Like, I mean, it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi,
Who I've
Sam.
known since high school, guys. And, yeah, my gosh, it's so good to see you
Nice
again
to
on
see
stage.
you. Yes.
Yeah, to talk about this.
Yeah, so I actually also am not tech savvy. I came largely from Procter & Gamble and J&J, so FMCG companies. And I realized that who we are really trying to serve were a lot of the underserved. And so I joined Grocery. Grocery is a B2B e-commerce platform. So unlike e-commerce platforms that serves the regular consumers, we actually serve the sari store owners. And there are about 1 million sari store owners out there. And they are basically running their business as an extension of their home. And we realized that they did not have access to affordable goods. It was very inconvenient for them to have to go and probably take a tricycle to the nearest supermarket and buy their goods at end consumer prices, and therefore not be able to maximize the profit they would make from their business. And so Grocery is really there. We provide them a bunch of SKUs. We have 700 plus SKUs they can order. We deliver it to them for free.
For free?
Yes, for free. And with very little minimum order of just 500 pesos.
Oh, abot kayang halaga.
Abot kaya. And what's amazing is that, we've been able to demonstrate that a lot of these traditional stores are now able to adapt to digitalization, ordering through an app, and availing of all the other business they can do through the app, like telco, and all their like cash-ins, bills payments. They become mini bayad centers as well for their own community.
That is amazing. And I love the name, Grocery. Oh, it's the cutest thing. Oh my gosh.
It's a grocery. It's
Yeah,
grocery.
I'm so tickled by it. Okay, and Jess.
Hi.
Hi, Kindred Health. Tell us about this.
Yeah. Well, Kindred is an all-in-one destination for women's health. It's about time that we have clinics that are dedicated to women. And what makes us different from the traditional healthcare setting is we make sure that it's a safe space for women to talk about sexual and reproductive health. And aside from the education piece and increasing awareness around women's health topics, we also provide the services, whether it's virtually or in person. We just launched our first clinic in Taguig, first physical clinic in Taguig a few months ago. In December.
Congratulations. Let's give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. That's great.
Thank you. And what we're trying to do is to elevate the idea of a doctor's visit because, when you're feeling something, let's say it's PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or infertility, or any other common health concern of women, it's already scary. So we don't want them to feel intimidated when going to the doctor. We want them to want to see a specialist so they can take better charge of their health. But yeah, we like many of you, I didn't start in tech. I was actually formerly a registered nurse. I worked in private and public hospitals and clinics around the Philippines, but I got absorbed into the startup world for the past decade in e-commerce as well. But now I decided to go back to healthcare because there's so many things that needs to be done in the country. That's why we work with DOH and other non-government organizations as well to increase awareness on different reproductive health topics.
Fantastic. It's so encouraging to hear that not all of you really started out in tech. I mean, but it sounds to me like you drew from like something that you were already doing at that time, but then you took it digital, right? Okay. My next question, I think you kind of touched on this already a little bit, but I was wondering was there an experience in your life that made you want to address this thing that your company addresses, or what is it trying to solve? What happened that put you on this path, and how is your company doing that exactly?
Yeah, so I think in my previous job, we always tried to sell products to sari store owners. And we were trying to tell them that, hey, this is good value for you. And in that experience, we realized that they don't quite understand exactly how they make money. They didn't quite understand what profit really meant versus daily sales. And so the company went about, okay, maybe we need to give them some digital ledger, like a POS that could solve it. But then as we went through it, we realized, no, that wasn't the problem. The problem was really the access to the goods. So it was just really more of that, just the daily encounters with these store owners and realizing how much help they needed and how much digital tools could really address their problems, as well as really fixing the whole supply chain. To be able to do that, tech would be the solution to drive the efficiencies. So it's not so much that tech is the app. Tech actually is the backbone of the operation itself. And that's where we derive all the efficiencies to solve the problem.
Okay, wow. Angie, what about you? What are you, trying to address and solve, and how is Angkas doing that?
I think for us, we're really just trying to resolve one thing, right? So when I first came to the Philippines, I could not believe that people were going to work happy after spending 2 to 3 hours in traffic one way.
Angie's from Singapore, by the way, guys. Okay, yeah.
Right? And I think, to me, we really wanted to help people get from one place to another faster. And that was our sole goal. And through time, we realized it's not just about traffic. It's about giving people the freedom of choice to make decisions for themselves. Because whether you realize it or not, traffic ties you to where you want to work, where you want to send your kids to school, who do you want to be friends with, and who you want to date. Right?
Wow.
Just like if this girl lives 10 kilometers away from you, which isn't far,
It's a long distance
it's
relationship.
a long distance
all of a
relationship,
sudden.
right? So with Angkas, we wanted to give freedom of choice back to people, for them to make decisions for themselves, right? And for our bikers, it was really about giving them livelihood. When we first started Angkas, nobody believed that the business was going to work, right? Because they thought like, drivers are pasaway, you cannot run this safely, customers will think it's too dangerous, nobody want to ride. So even my customers who used to ride us 3 times a day or 2 times a day, we were like, can you please tell your friends about this awesome service that you love? And they're like, no, I can't. If I put it on social media, my parents, my grandmother will never let me hear the end of it.
What, because they thought it was dangerous, like to get on a
yeah,
motorcycle?
and badui, dangerous.
Badui?
Yeah, badui as well, right? So we really had to change a lot of mindsets. And we've shown that with our professional drivers. I fail 70% of all my applicants.
Wow.
Yeah, because I really want to make sure that the drivers we put on the roads are professional and safe, and they can treat their customers well. So I think with that, that's how we started the service. And through time, we've been able to prove to the different stakeholders and communities that, Angkas is very safe. We're here to stay, and we want to build communities to support Filipinos, to support their families, and to become stronger as a country.
Wow,
Yeah.
and that's so insightful, because really when you think about, a transportation, ride-hailing app or whatever, you really just think of it as getting from point A to point B, but there are really a lot more underlying, deeper
Yes, it's all about the
issues.
people, right? So my bikers, they love to do CSR.
They love to what?
They love to do community service. So we support them to, give books to kids in rural communities. When there's like typhoon, they'll help to do like classroom cleanups. That's them giving back to society as well. From before, people have such bad impressions of motorcycle drivers, but I can say with my personal experience, they're just decent human beings who want to do good for society and for their families.
Yeah, my goodness. Seeing them yes, round of applause, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Vicky, tell us about, what you are trying to address with Kumu. What are you trying to solve?
Well, 3 things came to mind when you asked this question, and it's also related to what Angeline said, right? The sense of community. Number 1, we realized that we have so many Filipinos here and overseas, right? Who just want to connect with each other. So a lot of it was just establishing a sense of community. Imagine a global Filipino community on one app, right? And they can have conversations, especially if you live overseas. It can be so lonely. And you're looking, I remember when I was living overseas, I would look for the restaurant that served kare-kare. You know, just, I'm looking for something that connects me to home. So I think the emotional aspect of helping heal people's sense of loneliness is one thing we were trying to solve. And then number two would be, for example, we all know that social media can get a little toxic. We've all been in spaces that were very uncomfortable online. One of the things that we really wanted to do is have a positive place for content creators. A lot of content creators were constantly coming out with content, but finding no clear way to monetize their content. And what we did is, in Kumu, we have our virtual gifting system. So if you're a supporter, you can just drop a virtual gift, and that's convertible to cash, right? And then at the same time, they're also building their community. And what I love about live streaming is you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. It really is what you see. What you see is what you get. We used to make a joke in Kumu in the early days. We're like, there's no perfect sunsets here, right? Because I will always see perfect sunset, perfect, shot. In live streaming, it can be very raw and real. And then the third issue that's very close to my heart, it's really about women and keeping women safe online. 60% of our user base is women, right, on Kumu, and they feel extremely safe on Kumu. There's other platforms out there that are encouraging exploitation or, disrespectful ways for women to make money. And I think what we're really trying to do in Kumu for the last 5 years is really having a safe space for women and children on the internet, right? We do have an age limit, so not everyone can just stream if you're a child, but definitely keeping a safe environment for women online in the sense that, if there is certain content that is live, we make sure that the stream is cut, within seconds. Right? We don't encourage exploiting women on Kumu. We don't encourage that type of behavior. We always want to make sure that women content creators find respectable means on how to, share their content and in a way that they're proud of. So I think really combining my love for that advocacy of women empowerment in the live streaming world is combining two things and really helping people feel a sense of empowerment in their own life and a way to make money as well online.
That is amazing. And I think that is really a term that came up often when I was looking into your work is safe space. You really want to create a safe space for women and children, which we all need at this time. Jess, what about you? What were you trying to address or solve? Did something happen in your personal life, perhaps?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have many women around me who have had horrible experiences when seeking care or quality care. But if I could, I guess, pinpoint the very major challenges that we're facing right now, right? The stigma and the taboo and the culture of silence around different women's health issues, whether it's about sex, your periods. In school, I got sent to the principal's office for talking about periods, right? Where it was very backwards before.
Did you go to school in the 50s or something?
Oh, yeah. No, 90s.
90s?
Yeah, but even until now, because we're
Talaga?
working with universities and schools also to educate them around different topics. But there's still some censorship somehow, like they still control what we're going to say in those talks. Aside from the stigma and taboo, of course, the result is we become too shy to talk about our health concerns, and that just gets in the way of taking care of yourselves. That just gets in the way of finding the right solutions, right? We can't solve it alone. Certainly not. It needs a collaboration from different sectors, different stakeholders to be able to address these major challenges. Aside from that, it's very hard to find quality care these days. Whether it's mental health, OB-GYN, or physical health. So what we try to do in Kindred is we onboard doctors who are advocates of women's health. We train them, we vet them in a kindred way to make sure that we're actually elevating quality care, right? And these are specialists who are advocates of, let's say, postpartum depression, PCOS, infertility, and that's important because you know that you're really in good hands. At the same time, one of the major challenges is that innovation has lagged behind here in the country when it comes to health. Like I'm happy to see innovation in like different industries, e-commerce. I was in e-commerce for 10 years, ride hailing even, like there's apps for everything. But in health, obviously there's lack of focus on women's health. The health apps that we have now, the very few, I'm glad they're innovating, but it's more a generalist approach. As women, I guess what most of us don't understand is we spend our entire lives understanding our bodies, and the changes throughout every life stage is vast and immense, from puberty to getting pregnant or trying to get pregnant to menopause. Not many women know that you can alleviate your symptoms for menopause. So what we're trying to do is help normalize these topics, help them navigate healthcare. It doesn't have to be scary, and provide the right services that is very personalized for you. Because healthcare is, you can't Google or WebMD your symptoms.
You can't?
No,
I'm just kidding.
please do not. Ask your
Really?
doctor, ask your specialist, ask a kindred specialist if you're a woman, because there's so much misinformation on the internet and unverified information. It always has to be science-based, evidence-based, and doctor-backed.
I believe you. I believe you, and that's really good advice. And I find it so impressive that all of you are quite young and you're in very varied fields, doing what you're doing. KD, as someone from Globe offering services to these MSMEs, right? If people in the audience right now, they also have this brewing idea inside of them that they want to take to a platform so that they can also offer, these much needed services to women and just everyone else, really. What would be the services that you would first recommend to like a newbie who's looking into entering tech that Globe offers?
So, first of all, thank you for thinking that we're all young.
Same here.
That's very kind of you. But for those that actually just want to get started, or even if they're growing their businesses already, within Globe Business, we actually have a slew of offers that are cutting across whether you're a growing stage or you're just starting, or even if you're winding down your business, because that's how we look at the whole life cycle of the MSMEs, because we want to be very inclusive and have something for everyone. I think what we're seeing is, let's say, the challenge of most new businesses, the ones that are just starting, is really to expand their market reach, or just really get more customers to know about them, and to patronize what it is they have. Because a lot of the things that they are bringing to the market, they're from their heart, right? And as I listen to the women here, that's really just how it feels. And that's what we want to be able to help. So it's really services that help put their products and services out to the market. We have things like platforms that, there's this thing called M360 where it helps you be able to communicate more directly with your customers. There's also services that we partner with 917 Ventures, and it's called Kapitan, and this one also helps with digital marketing, because we've spoken to several of our customers. So what we realize is that they don't really know yet how to market themselves. So I remember we were talking to this one school, and then they were just saying, so I was asking, how do you get new students? Because they were really struggling during the pandemic. And what I found so inspiring from them is they themselves put their own money in the school to be able to keep it running. And so I go, how do you market yourselves? They go, oh, we create like a poster and we ask our students to just post it on their Facebook. That's the extent of marketing that they know. So that's what we want to be able to help them with, so that they can have a wider reach. So that's one of the things we're trying to solve. I think the other thing that we are trying to solve for our customers is really to help make their operations a lot more efficient. Because I think there is always a lack of time, especially for the women, who play so many multiple roles in the business and in life. So we were just having a chat in the back earlier
Oh,
about
what?
how, it's like saying, so for an entrepreneur, is it really like that? Doesn't it consumes you? It's all consuming.
Oh, we'll get into that later. I want to know how you all balance all this, actually.
Yeah, and so there's really no, there's hardly enough time. So we want to make the operations much more efficient for them through automation or platforms that help collaboration and productivity so that they actually have time to think through how to grow their businesses more or to be able to spend the time for the other facets in their life that they need to give attention to. So that's the second. And I think the third one is really upgrading your business skills. So I guess when you're starting off, you don't really know where to start, or you're not very business savvy or technologically savvy. Small businesses will not have an IT department. They will not even have an IT person. So what we want to be able to do in Globe Business is not just give the products and services for the automation, but to really try to handhold and give value by helping them grow their business and understanding their pain points. It's not just about selling them a product. We want to help the businesses grow. We want to be in that journey with them. So that's what we're currently looking at. Those are the three main things, I'd say.
That is so heartwarming because, Globe obviously is a mega company, but for a mega company to want to hold my hand, a micro, small, medium enterprise, like that is so comforting. Personally, I'm kind of late to the Gcash train, which is like the most basic of the basic, right? But late to the train, I cannot remember my life before Gcash. Like, what was I doing? I don't even remember. Anyway, so while KD was talking, the ladies were nodding in agreement. Obviously, they have gone through, these different stages of a business that is growing, right? How has that process been? What was the challenging part and, or maybe it was not that difficult to grow your business. What has it been like for you?
Start with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess just one thing, like you keep mentioning that you're not tech savvy and etc. I just want to let people know that running a tech business is actually just running a business that has technology to help you run it better. Right? Because people think about Angkas as a tech company, but majority of my people are working on onboarding the drivers, right? Making sure that they get training, having mystery passengers ride, and to making sure I have a quality assurance team. All of this are not tech related. A lot of the business is actually just solving a problem and using technology to help solve it, but it's actually the same business. We need to get customers, we need to find revenue, we need to, all of that is the same for every single business. So do not let, the word tech scare you, right? Because it's just basically running a company.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Right? So I think the challenges that we face in the business, of course, we've had a lot of regulatory challenges. So we've been shut down, I would say 4 times in our 6 years of operations. 3 times by the government, 1 time by COVID. But this was really because there was a misunderstanding that motorcycle taxis are very, very dangerous and they cannot be run in a safe manner, right? So we are safer than condoms. We have a 99.997% safety record and condoms are only 98% safe. So if you trust condoms, you should trust Angkas.
Just for the refreshing comparison alone, I give you a round of applause.
Public service announcement as well. If people think condoms are 100% safe, they're not. So we did have product market fit. People loved the product. People enjoyed getting through traffic at half the time and at more than half the cost. But I would say that every business has its own set of challenges, right? I always tell people, like, I want to run a really boring business, like selling toilet bowls. And then I met someone who sells toilet bowls, and he's like, oh my gosh, I have so many problems. Right? So it's all relative. Every business will have problems. Everything will have problems. Then it's just about how do you stand up and solve these problems one at a time. Yeah.
Wow, so interesting. Vicky, a streaming platform. I don't know, I kind of feel like, actually, I don't know what I think. Is it one of those things that's easy to, have it blow up? Or do you have so much competition online too?
Definitely in the beginning. I always tell this story. I'm like, do you remember when 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, YouTube came in the market and people were like, what is that?
Oh, yeah.
And then now, if you ask somebody their career, they're like, I'm a YouTuber. And it became normal. I felt like that's how it was when we started. we were talking about live streaming, and they'd be like, oh, I don't need to do that. I'm already on Instagram. I'm already on YouTube, right? So definitely educating the market about this industry, and like what I said earlier, it's not always safe platforms, right? So also educating the market like, no, 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 we're not that platform. Like, we really want to help Filipino content creators earn, right, respectfully. So I think there was a lot of education around that. But going back to, I think just the concept of being an entrepreneur, you're problem solving, right? You signed up for this in the sense that your mind is in the space of always looking for solutions. And before, my resistance around this was like, oh, another problem, right? Because you're always thinking like, will this ever end, like the problems? But what I had to accept, especially in my journey as an entrepreneur, that life, and this is what I learned, it's really like this. It's really a roller coaster. It's not linear, expecting it like, yeah, one success, and then another success, and then another success, right? I had to step back and break away from that belief system that that's how it should be or how it should look like. But in reality, has ups and downs. And I accepted that okay, I know today I have a challenge, I have a problem, but I may not know the solution today, but we'll figure it out, right? And then just having the resilience to say, okay, the next day I'm gonna wake up again, we're gonna solve this problem, and then your phone rings again and there's another problem. And just understanding that, hey, this is not, a short sprint, it's a cliche, it's a marathon. And I accepted it. Versus before, I was struggling. I had so much resistance. Like, no, not another problem. I'd get annoyed. I'd get angry. And then now I'm like, but this is what this life is about. Being an entrepreneur is problem solving.
Can I just add to that?
Of course.
And from each problem that you solve, you get stronger and you get more resilient. So every problem that you're facing, just remember that at the end of the problem, you will have learned something invaluable that you would not have learned if not for that problem, right?
And when you reach, for example, another type of problem, because of your history, you'll say, no worries, I got this. I've been here before, I know what to do, right? You pack on the wisdom, the knowledge, and then you share it with your team. And it's an adventure. And that's what I can say. That's all I can say about growth and innovation. It's problem solving.
Yeah, no, and it's surprising to me how, the question was really more like, I suppose like tech, because it's in tech, like what have the challenges been? But it's really more just because it's a business, it's all about being an entrepreneur, like those are the challenges, right? I also heard though, Vicky, just on a side note, that you actually bought a Go Negosyo book, right? How did that help you? Yeah.
Yes. So first off, thank you for the invitation to be here. It's a full circle moment for me. So it also goes back to what I wanted to share, my mother. So I was raised by a single mother, and I saw what being an entrepreneur meant by watching her and not giving up. And also just the fact that she didn't have certain credentials to get into certain businesses, but she just said, it's fine, I'll learn it on the way. It's not, one of the things that I used to be a story, it's like, oh, I don't have an MBA. Why am I here in the startup world? I never learned this. But my mom would always say, just learn it. Like, this is your MBA. Like, being here, this is your MBA. But anyway, my mom was always trying to teach me to be open-minded, be willing to learn. I got her on GCash. By the way, she's 72 years old, and she's on GCash. And just seeing those qualities really inspired me. So going back to the book, she bought me the book when
Mom.
I was in my teens, when I was in high school. I must have been 13 or 14, and I had a Go Negosyo book. So already my mom saw this and how it could, be a seed in my subconscious mind in being an entrepreneur. So it was over 20 years ago, I think over 10, 15 years ago. And I think the beauty about that was that at the end of the day, going back to what we were saying, problem solving, identifying a need of a market, and finding creative ways to solve it. And every year, business processes could change. There could be a new, new program out in the market to help entrepreneurs, or a new process, or a new law. We don't know, right? But the resilience to solve the problem daily based off of your learning and your passion for it is just the key right now that I'm also learning being in it.
I just can't get over the fact that you held a book when you were 13, 14, and now you're speaking at a summit.
It's crazy.
It is.
And what's amazing, I remember it was stories of entrepreneurs and how they got through it.
Oh my gosh.
And I think looking back, just understanding, and what I love is we're sharing our stories here. The power of storytelling and sharing your stories can inspire like the next generation to learn from it, right? So I just remember, being a teenager and hearing like, oh, okay, I didn't think I was gonna be an entrepreneur when I was a teenager, right? I didn't think this would be my life. If you asked me before, you're gonna be in a tech company, I'd be like, no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. But you don't know where life's gonna take you, and you don't know what seeds were planted 10, 15 years ago that just sprout at the right time.
Yeah. Well, we're happy you're here.
I'm happy I'm here too.
Yeah. Mai, what's your story with Grow Sari? I mean, was there any resistance at all from the Sari store owners? Because I don't know, I kind of feel like maybe they got, they're comfortable with the way things were being done, diba?
Definitely. It was really hard for us to teach them how to order in an app. They're very used to traditional ways, either a distributor agent comes to them or they go and buy the goods themselves. But eventually with the pandemic, we couldn't send our field agents. So now how are they going to access their goods? And then that's when they started to realize maybe I can use the app. But of course, how to use the app. And that's where we had to really break down all the problems in terms of the funnel, right? They keep forgetting their login or their MPINs all the time.
I do too.
And I was like, okay, we can send you an OTP. Oh, but there's no signal in our area. How are you going to solve the OTP issue, right? So, okay, they don't have signal, but they may have Wi-Fi. Maybe there's another way. Maybe we can reach them through Facebook Messenger. So you had to kind of like break down every single step of the way in terms of addressing how to properly onboard your user, how to educate them on all the different products, because maybe at one point they got used to ordering just certain parts of the products, like certain part of the categories, but they're scared to try other things. They're scared to try bills payment, or they're scared to try remittance. And that's when you realize, okay, maybe it's not so much just educating and making them read all this text in the app, right? The reality is the best influencers are people like them. So we recognized, hey, we don't need big celebrities. We don't have money for that. But the Sari store owners are actually influencers among their own circle as well.
That's so cute.
And so we then realized the importance of creating these ambassadors among the Sari store owners, and they are proud. They're very proud of their business, and they would love to share tips of how they grew their business, like the tips and hacks they figured out along the way. And we created this huge group of like Sari store owners, and they actually ended up doing our job better, really, in terms of educating all the fellow Sari store owners. But as I said, there are just so many problems that we had to start cracking bit by bit. And sometimes you don't know where to start, what problem to solve first, right? But that actually comes with really being super clear. Is this the biggest problem to be solved right now to grow your business? And it's not so much that you have to like spend so much on research, right? A lot of startups, we don't have money. We don't have money, we don't have people, we don't have kind of like all the resources that big companies have. So it's just really important to kind of like prototype and prototype as cheap as possible, as fast as possible, to kind of test out your hypothesis. Will this be something that works? And is this really the problem that we're trying to solve? We tried to figure out, okay, we want to grow the basket sizes of our store owners. Have them order more on the app. So let's list in more goods, let's bring in all other categories. Maybe they'd be interested to like sell notebooks or clothes or other things. And it wasn't picking up. What we realized, the problem wasn't so much that we didn't have enough assortment in our platform, but the access to credit. The reality that they don't have the capital to be able to buy more goods. I mean, as you realize, the Sari Sari store is almost a side business of a family, right? It's an extension of their pantry. I have extra goods. If I don't sell it, it's okay. I can consume it in my home. So when you realize, oh, the problem we solved was credit, then we said, okay, well, we kind of know the history of all these Sari Sari store owners based on the purchases in the app. So why don't we give them some working capital loans? You know, buy now, pay later. And credit score them accordingly. And at first we were worried, what if they can't pay? You know, our P&L can't afford to have all these like losses in terms of not being able to collect. But you know, we realized a lot of the MSMEs, they pay on time. You know, they can't risk losing that credit line because they're not given access to a lot of credit. So that whole bit, you know, kind of like figuring out the problem to be solved and finding ways. Now, we actually are going to have another company called SariPay, which is basically the spin-off from where we started with just serving Saris, the goods, into a fintech company.
Wow. So I mean, it's it's growing, and I mean, when I hear your stories, I think the common thread is really like problem solving. I really felt that when you were telling us about like, okay, we'll text you. There's no Wi-Fi. Okay, Facebook Messenger. Like, oh my gosh, you really have to explore all avenues, and then building the community that you guys all talk about. Like that seems to be a common thing among all of you. Jess, tell us about the most challenging part.
Gosh, well, at the beginning when I started my tech journey, it was quite challenging. I mean, I started with at an entry-level role as an assistant and learned along the way. But it was challenging because I didn't even have a business education background. I was a nurse. I studied a bit of IT, but I'm not really an amazing coder. But my expertise really relied on healthcare. So I found mentors along the way, fortunately, but not many people have opportunities to find great mentors who will help you and really nurture those skills that you need and skills that you need to equip yourself with if you want to take the next step. But I was fortunate enough to find them. Of course, I also tried to seek more mentors along the way and just learn from doing, actually. So it's been 10 years and I'm now able to combine my healthcare expertise and tech background and my business development background, the multiple hats that I wear. It's quite challenging these days to set up a business because one, there's lack of talent, especially in the tech sector. Here in the Philippines, they go outside after they graduate or gain experience. I'm actually one of those. I was a OFW for 8 years as well.
Welcome back.
So I'm a returnee. But we had no choice because the salary is more competitive outside. So what's left for us startup entrepreneurs is, yes, there are many out there, but you, as leaders, we also have to recognize that we have to nurture them and equip them with the right tools and put the right people in the right place. But in general, there's still lack of talent in general. So that's quite challenging because in tech startups, you don't have a big budget. You will always have a small team compared to more traditional companies with thousands of headcounts, which means your team needs to be lean and mean, and they have to be the right talent. So I think that's it's not just in healthcare, but I think it's true across different industries.
KD, as you heard everyone's story and how they have grown and the challenges that they have faced, as someone who is representing Globe Business and the MSME group specifically, what are your thoughts and what would you like to say to all the entrepreneurs here who are thinking of starting their own?
Actually, a lot that was said really super resonates with me and what it is we do because that's what we notice. For the MSMEs, when we want to try to help them digitize or be more digital, because that's really a way forward for them. When you look out there for the digital solutions, they're actually very enterprise grade, meaning in terms of scale, in terms of price. So budget is always an issue, and it's not really that relevant or that apt for what a small or medium business would need. So within the Globe Business team and in my group, what we really try to do is come up with or work with groups that have solutions that are very specific for MSMEs. So they are probably much more modular. So you can't buy the whole shebang right away because that's what an enterprise can do, but you can't. You don't even know exactly what you need yet. So you try to work with groups that help us create solutions that are more tinge, I guess, if you could, as a term. And the other thing we know is that they also don't really have maybe the business skills yet. So apart from the hand-holding that we try to do, we also have a lot of platforms where they can learn more. So we have this platform called Globe Business Academy. We also have a platform called Globe Upstart, which is a loyalty program. But in these two platforms, so in Globe Business Academy, we actually have a lot of learning material. So video guides for how to do businesses. There's a lot of helpful articles. There's white papers. There's use cases. And so this is available for people to be able to learn more and upskill themselves.
Wow.
In Upstart, we also have sessions where they can do networking. Because sometimes it's really, who you get to talk to. You build
for
networks.
sure.
Just in the back earlier, there's people already working out, possible synergies,
Already?
right?
Oh my
So when you put a bunch of
goodness,
women
they're fast.
together, you're really gonna talk a lot. But so that's one of the things. So networking is important. Mentorship programs. So I was hearing that earlier. We also try to put mentorship programs together for them, as well as business consultations. So we realize, and I think it was mentioned earlier, technology is not the end-all and be-all answer. It is an enabler, but it's really there to support thinking through problems and solutions. And it's a backbone, but it's really about problem solving and then the people that are behind it. So you really have to work with the people, particularly for small and medium businesses. I mean, very different with enterprise. I guess they just look for, what's the most competent solution out there or something with shiny bells and whistles. But I think for Globe Business, we would not be doing our job if we are not working with our customers instead of just selling to our customers.
Okay, I hope everyone's taking notes because we have so many resources that we can tap into with Globe Business. Okay, let's take things a little more personal now. We talked about the platform, the company, the journey. For everyone listening here, interested in entering this kind of realm, what do you think, what qualities do you think you have that really helps in this kind of industry? And I know we keep saying it's really not, tech. It's really, we're entrepreneurs. The tech is a factor in it. But let's look at the tech angle. Are there qualities that you have that are helpful specifically in a business that is geared toward tech? Do you feel like? Anyone?
I think we were just discussing in the back just now that when people say tech, it doesn't mean you need to know how to code. It doesn't mean you need to know the technology. Because these are all concepts, right? And anyone can learn concepts. So it's not difficult. You just need to have an open mind and really just dive into it, right? So, personally, I think what has helped in tech is really knowing that whatever is relevant today and what I do today may not be relevant tomorrow. So for me, it's always looking for a better way of doing something. I'm not tied to the idea of okay, because I've perfected this way of doing things for the last 1 year, this must be the way going forward. So the willingness to always disrupt yourself and what you do and to optimize and always say okay, I may be the boss, but then this guy coming here might have a better idea than me. So I'm open to listen to it and just apply it to see whether it works or not. So I think that for me is the most important thing in tech, that things can change very quickly. You need to be able to adapt and be willing to be open to it. Yeah.
Very good advice, yeah. Vicky? Mai, did you want to go?
No, I was just going to say, sorry, being a woman actually does help. The fact that, I don't want to say women are different from men, but there are certain things really that maybe come a bit...
Women are different from men.
in only some aspects. Okay, what I'm trying to say though is that, we tend to, sometimes we try to solve a problem. There are two ways to address it. Either, you go on your left brain rational side, or as women, I would like to think we kind of go with a bit more empathy to try to understand the problem, to understand the customer experience, and really be with the customer. Kind of like, okay, what are you going through? What are your issues? How can I help you? And approach it in a more listening manner versus coming up immediately. Oh, you need to do the 1, 2, 3. That kind of thing. And I think that's what comes a lot, maybe more natural to us girls. The other is we're quite creative also, right? And a bit resourceful and kind of like finding alternative approaches to solving a problem. And sometimes, a lot of the solutions, and I think it's also being Pinoy, parang madiskarte tayo eh. Parang kahit ano, baka pwede yan, di ba? So, and we're willing to try it and test it. So I think, yeah, as a combination of the use of empathy and intuition, at the same time, creativity and resourcefulness, which would make for a good entrepreneur, regardless in tech or not in tech.
Yeah, yeah. Vicky?
What they said. Gaya. Really agree with, even wrote notes so I wouldn't forget. The beginner state of mind, I think that definitely helped me throughout the past 5 years of being in this company, and even in some projects before, saying, okay, I don't know how to do this, but how can I learn? And finding resources to learn, whether it's the internet, Google, YouTube, university, finding podcasts are also great. Coming to talks like this is amazing. So filling up my mind to understand, okay, the self-awareness, like what do I know that I don't know? Because a lot of the times you don't know that you don't know it, right? So it's like, okay, what do I not know about this business? Or even about being a leader or running a team or operations, right? Like what do I not know and how can I learn? I think that really helped me. I think another thing is humility, right? There's a lot of things. I used to also work in entertainment and fashion, right? Just understanding how ego works, understanding it's important to be humble, especially with more success you have. It's not the time to, for example, if you have a team, right? Your team is with you. They don't serve you. They're with you. You work with them, and you're in the trenches together to solve a problem. And I think having that as well as a leader, understanding that my team is everything to me, and they're the smartest team that I believe in, right? That's one of the things as well. So along with empathy, it is empathy, yes, for your customer and also with your team, right? Understanding, hey, if I'm asking, my team to do things, I also want to understand how is their mental health that day? How are they offline as well? What do they not understand about this project? How can I fill the gaps in their knowledge as well? And being that type of leader to make sure that we all win together and it's not, the me show, right? Because it's easy for our heads to get inflated, but also staying humble and grounded and knowing that this is a team effort and we all cross the finish line together. I think that keeps the sense of morale up.
You can do the me show on Kumu. That's what Kumu's for, right?
You can do the me show on Kumu, but definitely in a project-based company, or for example, in a team-based project, I think it's really important to listen to all the voices in the room. And like what Angeline said, like sometimes the best idea comes from the person who's the quietest or the one who's like in the corner just listening. They're gonna say, why don't we try this? And then everyone turns around and you're like, that's brilliant, right? And I think just having those qualities of listening, open-mindedness to learning, and allowing everyone to speak, I think those were also a lot of lessons I learned in the last 5 years of saying, maybe I don't know everything, but it's good to learn from everyone.
Yeah, fantastic. Jess or KD? Anyone?
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree with Vicky, and just wanted to build on that as well. I think most people think our womanly traits of being gentle, nurturing, and empathic are typically perceived as weak or maybe less valuable than what our male colleagues have, but I see that as our strength. So I just wanted to, that's a very favorite topic of mine. And I also just wanted to say that qualities like being bold and brave and knowing what you really want to get into and just dive into it and see everything as an opportunity will always open doors for you. Most of the time, I'm like a yes person. At times, of course, like I have to balance out work and life, which is admittedly quite difficult these days because we've been super dedicated to our own companies, but you also definitely need to make time for yourself. But just being bold enough to take the next step. At the same time, in our team, we always have to remind ourselves not to be so precious about our ideas, not to be so stuck on it. I think, yeah, that resonated with me, what Angeline said, like that sometimes what is true now or what is great now might not be the future or the near future. So you always have to constantly improve and continuously look for ways to iterate your products.
I mean, this is just generally like life advice at this point, you know? It's not even business advice. Like, this is awesome.
That's because it's a women's talk.
Right? Oh, we love the men too. We do. Okay. KD.
Well, I think, as women, women I think are really jack of all trades. They are able to multitask and juggle so many things, and which is why I think we're so good at problem solving. Like at home, you're the chef, you're the plumber, you're the electrician, you're doing everything, and then at work you're doing the same thing as well. So I think that's a trait that is really very helpful when you're doing a business. But I think the other thing that is helpful is courage. So I think women are really quite courageous. It's innate in us, the things that women go through. It really takes a lot of courage. And I think that what needs to be brought into doing a business is that courage, and particularly for technology. What I see for maybe the smaller businesses is there's a bit of hesitation to digitize or be more digital. And because you're really the one juggling so many things, you need a little bit of help, I think, to be able to get a little bit more time for yourself or for whatever it is you want to do. You put it back into the business, etc. So automation helps, operational efficiency helps, and that's brought in by technology. And sometimes where I think in the smaller businesses where they are is that they are a little bit afraid. Technology is scary, right?
Yeah, it's a little intimidating, I think.
So it's important to be brave and take that step. Maybe find the right partner. I mean, there's so many organizations out there that the mission is actually to help empower the MSMEs, like Go Negosyo, right? That's already a very important example. We try to do that in Globe Business. So, find the right partner that you can get support from a technology front, and you would be so unstoppable because you can really be so much more efficient, and then all your creativity can already be used for growing your businesses even more, or for whatever else it is you want to be able to accomplish in your life.
Right. Like technology can be your ally.
Should be.
Yeah, it should be your ally. Okay. Oh my. Okay, we are already like approaching the end of the hour. So I would like to wrap with this. Drawing from your experience and your expertise, what advice or words of encouragement would you give anyone here who is looking to do something similar? Would like to start?
I can go. So I don't know if there's going to be something similar, but I think the most important thing is find a problem that you are passionate about and that you want to solve. And it's a problem that people really need solving, right? So like whether I should have more red clothes, it's not a problem that you need to solve. Because if you don't find a problem that's close to your heart, then like you will not be able to go through this entrepreneurial journey that Victoria is speaking about, right? Because it's not worth it. So you need to find something that you really want to solve. And I think that the other thing is do not be afraid to make mistakes. So I think sometimes people are afraid to get into technology because they're like, oh, I want to find the best technology to get into. I want to find the best this. And I have been a victim of that myself, right? So I think the advice here is like, if it's 70%, go for it. It doesn't need to be 100%. And if you make a mistake, then the most important thing is to, one, recognize that you made a mistake, own up to it, and just iterate, change, do something different. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, Vicky.
I think for me, a lot of it is don't label yourself, right? A lot of my hesitation entering this industry was because I didn't know anything about it. So I said, oh, I don't have this, I don't know tech. A lot of it was my insecurity coming into it. But then having the growth mindset to say, you know what, I love this, I'm willing to learn, I want to do this. Instead of thinking of all the things, sometimes women will say things that are in our head, but not necessarily true, right? It's the self-talk. So I think understanding, like, wait, how am I talking to myself? How do I change my inner voice to be more positive and more encouraging and my own personal cheerleader to get me through this door and then the next day and then the next day? So rewiring that and how I talk about myself and to myself, right? So there, don't label yourself, listen to your inner voice and be aware of, you know, how am I talking to myself? What does my inner critic say? And learning how to calm that voice and have more encouraging words about yourself. Because everything is figure outable. We can learn it as long as you have the intention and energy to want to grow. I think that's what's very important. And then everything else is a journey.
Wow, KD.
So I would say to believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities, but also be humble enough to ask for support when you need it. Because you shouldn't be scared to ask for when you need help. Ask another woman. Women helping women. It's a great thing, right? So have that humility, but never lose the belief you have in yourself.
My.
Keep testing and iterating. Don't invest so much immediately. Prototype first, learn from it, evolve it before you scale it. And then the other thing really is that not all problems are so unique. I'm sure people have had the same problem as you. Look for those other similar businesses that probably had the same problem and how they solved it. Not all the best inspiration is just here in the Philippines. I'm sure there's a lot of businesses also out there in other countries. Read up on it, understand, even go there if you can, and try to understand how they tackled those different problems.
Fantastic. Jess.
I'll be quick. 0 seconds.
No, it's okay. Don't mind it. It's fine. It's fine.
No, and
Your time starts now. They're joking.
No, if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to be an entrepreneur but don't know where to start, I think I would love to encourage our Filipino entrepreneurs to look at problems of our country that still need addressing. And if it's a sector that has a lot of gaps, then the opportunities are there. Then you have to find the right way to scale it through technology. But if you're already a successful entrepreneur, I hope you pay it forward and empower other Filipina or aspiring Filipina entrepreneurs as well.
Ladies, thank you so much for your time and sharing with us your insights. I mean, I think we all emerged more encouraged and inspired and wiser and better equipped to take on, whatever you want to take on as entrepreneurs here. Please, everyone, give a round of applause to Jess and Mike, Katie, Vicky, and Angie. And Angie, congratulations on the award.